Hi, this is Dan here. I hope you're doing really well. Today I'm going to show you a few things that are going to give you literally hundreds of ideas for your bass lines, fills and solos. This might be one of those lessons that you just want to watch again because, as I say, there are lots of ideas embedded within it. Let's start off though with the chord progression. Very simple. It's just E minor 7 to E flat major 7. I'll get into this a lot more, but there's one thing that's interesting about this that is why I like the sound of it anyway. If you play an E on the 7th fret of the A string, and then a G on the 5th fret D string, D on the 7th fret G string, you can also play that as a chord. The flat third and the flat 7 are then the major third and the major 7th when you go to E flat. So these two chords share notes, and that's why I think it sounds quite good. And there's some very interesting things that you can do. And what we'll do in this lesson is I'm just going to dive into a few ideas based around some sort of techniques, rhythms, which is hugely important, and some kind of theory ideas. So as I said, you might want to rewind at some point if things are going over your head. I've got lots of related lessons. I'll put links to those. Let's start off with a triad. A triad is just the first, third and fifth of a scale, and we have a minor one on the E minor and a major one on the E flat. Let's play it like this. That's your E minor triad, and then go down one fret to the E flat for the E flat major triad. Learn these shapes. You can use these over any major or minor chord. By the way, you can download the backing track for free. I'll put a link to that. But I'm going to dive in and out of it to give you some demonstrations. So this is triads. I recommend you do what I do, which is just I'm making up that rhythm. I'm not thinking about it too much. With the backing track, you can practice playing it in time. You have those triads that I just taught you, but those are your note choices. How you play them is going to influence everything. And really, it's to do with note length and rhythms and how you phrase it, okay? Let's move on a little bit further. Let's do an arpeggio. So a triad was 1, 3, 5. Arpeggio, let's do a 7th one. 1, 3, 5, 7. And let's put the octave in there as well. It would be E minor 7. That's E flat major 7. So without the backing track. There are so many things you can do. You could actually just play the same order within each of them. So let's do that. So I'm going root, which is the E. And then I'm going octave. I'm not thinking about this when I'm playing, just explaining it. Octave to flat 7 after that. And then just coming down to the 5th. Let's go to E flat and do the same thing, except now it's a major 7th. And I'm actually ignoring the 3rd in each case. Let's put that in now. The The third defines the quality of the chord. So it's quite nice to add that in. You don't have to. These are note choices. You can just do a root. That's octave. And that's a fifth. So these are, as I said, just choices. You can choose to use them or not. Let's move to the 12th fret of the E string. So that's E. And you should be able to play the same patterns in different parts of the bass. So, you know, here we have, there's that same arpeggio, the 7th one, and then E flat major 7. This is the kind of basic fundamental thing you should learn on a bass, you know, arpeggios, and be able to move them in any position possible. Now here I want to add in a little bit of flavor, and let's do that by adding in some ninths. I think at this point what I'll do is I'll explain a scale, or a mode in this case. So the E minor 7 and the E flat major 7, they don't belong to the same key. They come from different places, okay? And over the E, what the scale is here, it's a mode, it's a Dorian mode. So we've got, that's an E Dorian, and then E flat Lydian. I don't know if you know a major scale, you absolutely should. If you do, it's the same as that, but you raise the 4th note by 1 fret. That's major, and that sharpened raised 4th is that Lydian. When you have like isolated minor chords like this, the Dorian mode works really well over it. And then when you have a random major 7th chord like this, a Lydian works very well. It's not a hard and fast rule, but it generally works. And those are our scales, or our modes, over each of these chords. And so now we can start to explain things a little bit, you know, more easily. So the 9th is just the 2nd note up the octave. The 2nd note's just 2 frets higher than the 1st one, okay? And then put that note, the 2nd, up the octave. This is a pattern you should definitely know. You just go 2 frets higher and 2 strings higher. So it's kind of like if we're on the 12th fret of the E string, the 9th is all the way 12, 13, 14, 15 on the 16th. Add in a 5th. And you get a really nice sound here. You can play that 5th with your 2nd finger or your 3rd finger. Up here it doesn't really matter. Okay, and then go down a fret to E flat, and all those patterns will be the same. The root, 5th, and the 9th. The chord shares those same notes. Let's play that with the backing track, see if we can find anything nice with that. At the end, I just put an octave in there. And like I said before, these patterns work over so many different chords, you know, as in, you know, if you played an A minor or an A major, the same patterns would work. So just learn patterns. It really, really helps. And learn the sound as well. You don't have to use them all the time. I perhaps overused them there. I'm using the same notes, but perhaps taking a few away. Notice that even though one chord is minor, the first one, and the next one's major, what I just played was exactly the same shape. Okay, so let's do something here. Let's add in a 10th. Here's the scale. Just extending the notes beyond the octave there. And a 10th is just the 10th note, okay? Go from the beginning, 1, all the way up to 10. It's just the 3rd up the octave, and a 3rd defines the quality of a chord. So if I add that in over the root, 5th and 9th, and then over the major chord, it would now be a major 10th. Notice that it's actually a G in both cases. You can certainly use all those notes to craft a really cool sounding bass line, or you could kind of reserve them for fills like this. I just used it at the end of the phrase to make a fill. In this lesson, I'm just teaching these two chords, but you can see how you can do this in any bass line, any set of chord progressions you care to think about. You can do the same sort of principle here. Plus, when you're listening to bass lines and working out existing bass lines, these ideas will be within those bass lines as well. This is what it's all about. Let's move on to something that's actually quite simple, and that's pentatonics. We have a minor chord, so over that we're going to use a minor pentatonic. Okay, that's a minor pentatonic, E minor pentatonic. When we go down to E flat, down that semitone, down a half step. Again, I don't know if you know this, but this is like a really common thing that you hear in bass music, okay? You need to know those two things, and they're quite simple. Pent means 5, only 5 notes. 5 notes. That was just extending them, okay? So I'm going to put the backing track on and make something up. You can hear that it sounds very melodic. Excellent for fills. So, you know, I'm going to go down here now. Okay, I'm going to break this down a little bit. This is exactly the kind of thing that I do if I'm on a gig and, you know, someone plays a couple of chords and you've got to latch onto it. If I'm composing bass lines, you know, this is what I do all the time, and I'm sure lots of people do this as well. So what I was doing there, I'll show you the bass line sort of thing I was doing. So E, this is the 7th fret of the A string. Well, actually, look, that's sort of sometimes how I think. That's E minor pentatonic. You know, I showed you it here. But it exists across the whole neck and you need to know all the shapes. So here, where I happen to be on the 7th fret, frets 5 and 7 on the E, A and D all contain notes. I know the shape really well. So I'm not really thinking roots and fifths and things like that, but they are all those intervals, so make sure you know your intervals. I just know the shape. I know it sounds good. I've done it a million times. So that's a root, that's a fifth, and that, beginning of Billie Jean, look, 2 frets lower than the root, which is the D on the 5th fret. That's the flat 7. I absolutely know the sound of all of these things, and I know where they are, and I recommend that you do the same, okay? So, and they're chord tones, right? That one there, that's the flat 3rd. They all sound excellent, these notes. And they all happen to be in that minor pentatonic scale. Very much what I was doing in the intro. Got these notes, and now I need to craft them into something that sounds like music. That's the rhythm I'm coming up with. Come up with a simple rhythm, stick to it, play it in time. That's why I'm playing to the backing track. That's why I do a lot of metronome work to be able to play in time. It's crucial. Okay, so I just did the bass line and then just messing around with the pentatonic, minor pentatonic. In this case, that will probably be too much. Let's do the 2 chords, and I'll do a fill at the end of the E flat major 7. But before I do that, let me explain. So I'm on the E flat now, 6th fret of the A string. There's that same 5th, same fret down on the E string. Now the 7th is not 2 frets away, it's 1 fret away because it's major. So 5th fret, that's the D. So you've got E flat, you've got B flat, which is the 5th. You've got the D, which is the 7th, and I don't know this when I'm playing, I just know the patterns. There's that G, that's the major 3rd. that really interesting sounding sharp 4. This is what I was doing in the intro. I was taking the same pattern and moving it and adjusting it for the different chords. And that's just an E flat major pentatonic. It's no exaggeration to say that you can come up with hundreds and hundreds of ideas using this. I'm going to move into the realms of soloing now. Let's show you. I just stuck to pentatonic there, and also I don't know if you noticed, I deliberately hung around on that G. Now, remember I said that G, it's the third of both the E minor chord and the E flat major 7 chord. So they're common tones, okay? And when you have chords that are not from the same key, it's often a good thing to do that. Find the notes that are shared between the two chords, and you know they'll work each time. Like E and E flat, they're not shared. They will sound terrible if you got the wrong one around there. So here, that's your E minor pentatonic scale. Now E flat major pentatonic has this shape here. And what I'm doing here is I know that I can play the first shape over the first chord, the second shape over the second chord. And I'm working within the confines of just this little area here. And this is what I want you to do. Just for now, just to get used to the idea of having to play mostly a different set of notes for each chord. Now, I've talked a lot about theory and notes, but it really is to do with you bringing it to life. So a good news is that it usually means just removing, taking notes away, coming up with phrases, melodies. That's what people are going to latch onto. That's what the listener wants to hear. They don't want to hear a bunch of notes that are not connected in a musical way. So look, all I did there, I'm bringing it to life with technique. That's a slide. That's vibrato, That's a bend. These are all articulations, expressive techniques. Really short note there. That's how you will take these notes I'm teaching you and make them sound cool. Use cool techniques with interesting rhythms. This is all about phrasing. So. You could do something like that. So I'm moving to the second set of notes, the E flat major notes, but sticking with the previous sort of idea. That's what soloing is about. It's about ideas. So for me, when I was growing up, the piece of the puzzle that really confused me was what notes am I supposed to play? I was quite obsessed with that because, yes, you can use your ear, and you should, but on the spot, in the moment, sometimes your ear might not be quick enough to know where the notes are. So if you know the shapes, that's easy. You just play the shapes and you know they're going to work. The sort of downside of that is that you end up sometimes playing just a bunch of notes and not making them sound very good. That's what I'm urging you to do here, is to take the notes and craft them into ideas, melodies, using phrases. Let's do something. I had da 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 da, that sort of rhythm, and this happens on the spot. It's called audiation, where you kind of hear something in your head and you're able to play it. And it's not magic. It's not a superhuman power. You practice to know the shapes under your fingers. You become very rhythmically aware by practicing rhythms. As bass players, we do that a lot. And then they become internalized. This happens over time with practice, and then you can just call them. just using the pentatonic scales there. I mentioned modes before. We have an E Dorian and we have an E flat Lydian. They both share some notes, okay? And now let's talk about that. That's a 1 octave Dorian mode, and this is how I'm playing it. With the second finger, I'm going 2, 4. And this is extended fingering here. So you might be used to 1 finger per fret. That's where you have, you know, for example, the first finger on the 11th fret and the second, third and fourth lining up adjacent on the 12th, 13th and 14th. That's 1 finger per fret. But here I'm just stretching my first finger out of that, just 1 fret this way to the 8th fret, or 10th fret, sorry. And that allows me to cover a 5 fret span rather than a 4 fret span. Make sure you're holding the bass properly so that, you know, angled up away from the sort of back of the chair here so that the wrist is quite straight and you're not straining. So if you are feeling any pain, just stop, okay? But this is your E Dorian. Then if you just shift your second finger down 1 fret. Now I talked about making music from this, but for now, as an exercise, let's just play the modes over the backing track. And actually it does sound quite nice just doing that. What I did, which I recommend again that you do, is play scales in a musical way. I've kept them really nice, the notes very nice and long, sometimes stopped, altered the rhythms a little bit. What I did at the top there, by the way, there, that's the octave, just shifted and played the pattern again until I sort of run out of bass, you know, run out of strings, and the same on the Lydian. Once you're familiar with the shapes and perhaps some of the fact that like that G is the same in the, you know, in the next one, in the Lydian, you can start to piece them together in a little bit more of a musical way. I tried to keep my YouTube lessons relatively short and cover a few ideas. I know in this one it's a bit longer and there are lots of ideas here. This lesson could be 24 hours, it really could. I've got so much more that I could do on this, literally these 2 chords, but trying to keep things brief. There is something that when I was practicing this, I found that I want to show you. So 3 note per string patterns are really, really useful on bass. So instead of starting with second finger, I'm starting first finger on E Dorian. And I'm playing that pattern there, okay? And again, it's this extended fingering idea. You get lots of notes to play with there. When I go to E flat for the Lydian, that's the shape we have. And what I discovered when I was playing, so you've got those notes that are on the 12th, 14th and 16th frets of the G, D and A, okay? Just those notes. If you take that pattern, right, move it from the G, D and A strings to the D, A and E, and then up a fret, right? Those notes work exactly over the E flat, so. I'll show you. What I'm going to do, I'm just going to play it in a non-musical way first. All I did there was I was thinking, I have one pattern there, and I'm just going to move that exact same pattern sort of this way and that way, and it's very easy to see that, okay, and it's very easy to make stuff up, and when you're there you can, so You can play intervals really easily. A sixth is when you play a note and then go 6 away. Really great sounding interval. That sounds really tense. I'm just holding the G on the 12th fret and then playing these other notes. You get these very tense, but then you move away from it. Three notes per string also lends itself well to digga-da-digga-da triplets, which you can pluck all of them, or you can do legato hammer-ons. It's another good reason to do 3 note per string pattern. I did mention at the beginning of the video, didn't I, that I was going to talk about a lot of things here and that you might want to rewind or you might want to watch the video again. You know, some lessons I do are very structured, others are a little bit, we'll talk about some themes and then just experiment. But I do that without apology because this is music, this is creativity. I want you to download that backing track for free and then just experiment. You know, you might want to go back and start very simply. I started with, you know, triads. You can just use root notes. As you're going, understand what those theoretical concepts are, learn them, memorize the patterns, and then build on top of that. Do start simple though. Triads, you've got your arpeggios, and then you've got, you know, you got like, you know, your root, your fifth, your sevenths, you know, you've got very simple chord tones. And then what was I doing there? Ghost notes, bit of 16th notes, and just bring the notes to life with your technique and with your rhythm. These are core concepts that as a bass player you need to master. Maybe I'll do a follow-up on this one. I do lessons like this all the time, so if you like it, then please do subscribe to my channel, share, like the video. That really helps grow my channel. But I may even just do a part 2 of this particular one because there's so much I could do based on that. But if you do have any questions, I'll always get back to you, so do leave a comment below. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you on the next one.